"I'm sorry, Mr. Swinton. It's just me, Winona," she said ruefully. "Mabel is in Texas, remember?" He shook his head, but soon drifted off into slumber again. Winona prayed that his ability to rest now was a good sign. In the early days, he had barely managed to get a wink of sleep. His cough had kept him awake night and day. She sat down in the chair by his bedside. He seemed peaceful for now. She picked up the newspaper that Ava had clearly been perusing as she sat by his side. There was little to interest her inside, but she did take note that there would be a performance of Shakespeare's Macbeth next weekend. She wondered if her mama might like to attend. She had always loved the theater, and it had been some time since she had been out anywhere. Winona's papa had sadly died in a tragic accident when out hunting with some friends. A tornado had hit the tiny cabin they had been staying in, and none of them had survived. Mama had never been the same since. Always a nervous woman, she had become scared of her own shadow, and could rarely find the courage to drag herself from the safety of her bedchamber, let alone the house itself. There were times when Winona felt that she had become the parent, her mother the child. It was a heavy burden sometimes, and her work as a nurse only barely covered the expenses of their tiny household. She did her best, though, and tried her hardest to seem happy and to help their friends whenever she could, too. The page of matrimonial advertisements was crammed full. It made her smile to think that Mabel had read one of those pleas for companionship and had possessed the courage to write to one and then make the move across the country to change her life. Winona wished she did not feel her duty here in Philadelphia so strongly. She had her work in the hospital, her mama, and now Mabel's parents to care for, too. It simply wouldn't be right for her to leave all that behind, no matter how much happiness it might bring her personally. But it didn't stop her from looking, from dreaming of a happy ending of her own. Most of the advertisements were dull and lifeless. They gave no clues as to the true identity of the men behind them. Winona enjoyed a mystery, and trying to picture the gentlemen in question, pondering their qualities and values, and what life married to any one of them might be like. She would never act on her fantasies, would never take such a risk, could never leave her mama alone, but it didn't stop her from wanting to do just that. But today, there were a number of more interesting advertisements, longer and with much more information. One in particular made her heart pound a little. The life it described was just too close to the one she always pictured for herself in her most romantic of dreams. Gentleman of Montana seeks a kindly woman with a view to matrimony. As a small-town doctor, the subscriber holds a role of some responsibility within his community, and as such, whosoever might respond to this advertisement should be prepared for a life of service and dedication to others. Nursing skills would be highly prized, but more important are a kind heart and generous spirit. Lively conversation and the desire to make a comfortable home would be welcomed, as would a love of theater and good music. All responses to Box 476, Philadelphia Tribune. Winona wished she was in a position to write to the Montana doctor who prized goodness and a love of the more refined pleasures in life, as she did herself. If she could leave her mother, the Swintons, and the hospital, this would be the very kind of man she longed to call her husband.